It was the middle of autumn, the leaves crunching beneath the wheels of Alex's car as he drove into the small town of Maple Hollow. Alex had been on the road for hours, traveling to clear his mind after a stressful month. As night began to fall, he spotted a dimly lit sign for the only motel around, the Maplewood Inn. Weary and eager to rest, Alex decided to stay the night. The place looked run down, its paint peeling and the neon vacancy sign flickering like it was struggling to stay alive. The air felt colder as he parked, and the front desk clerk, a frail older woman with hollow eyes, gave him a key with a soft warning. "You'll be in room 6. Keep to yourself and avoid the mirror." Alex chuckled nervously, thinking it was just an odd remark. But as he left the desk and walked toward his room, the woman's words echoed in his mind. What was so special about this mirror? Room 6 was no more than what you'd expect from a forgotten motel. A bed, a small TV, a worn armchair, and a door leading to the bathroom. But as Alex entered the room, his eyes immediately locked on the mirror opposite the bed. It was tall, taking up nearly half the wall, with a frame that looked older than the rest of the room. Intricate carvings twisted around its edges, resembling vines, but the patterns seemed to move the longer you stared at them. Shrugging off the strange feeling, Alex set his bag on the bed and tried to relax. He turned on the TV, flipping through static-filled channels before giving up. The mirror kept pulling his attention, though. Every time he glanced at it, he swore something was off. The light in the reflection seemed different from the rest of the room. The mirror almost seemed to shimmer on its own. He tried to ignore it. He was just tired, he reasoned, and a long day of driving had him imagining things. After a quick shower, Alex lay on the bed, scrolling through his phone. The wind outside howled against the thin walls of the motel, but inside the room, all was quiet. Too quiet. It wasn't until Alex rolled over to turn off the bedside lamp that he saw it. In the mirror, there was movement. A shadow, faint but unmistakable, slipping across the reflection of the room. His heart raced. He sat up quickly and looked around. The room was empty, save for him. He stared at the mirror again, convinced he must have imagined it. But there it was. Something, or someone, in the mirror's reflection, just out of sight. Alex felt a chill creep down his spine. He stood up, approached the mirror, and cautiously touched the frame. Cold. Unnaturally cold. The carvings felt sharper than they looked, almost like they were trying to cut into his skin. Suddenly, a knock at the door startled him. It was loud, insistent, like someone pounding to get in. Alex rushed over, flung open the door, but found no one there. The empty parking lot stared back at him. Confused and shaken, he closed the door and turned back to the mirror. But now, the reflection was wrong. In the mirror, the door was still wide open, and there was someone standing in the doorway. A dark figure, its face obscured. Alex's blood ran cold. He spun around to face the real door, but it was closed, just as he had left it. Trembling, he glanced back at the mirror. The figure was still there, motionless, as though it was waiting for him to acknowledge its presence. Suddenly, the lights in the room flickered, and the figure began to move. Slowly, it stepped into the room in the reflection, but in reality, nothing was there. They walked toward him, closer and closer, until it was standing right behind him. At least, in the mirror. Alex's breath came in shallow gasps. He was paralyzed, unable to tear his eyes away from the reflection. The figure, now inches from his back piece, seemed to lean forward, its obscured face almost touching his. A cold whisper echoed through the room, but it was as though it came from inside his own mind. You can't leave. In a panic, Alex stumbled backward, knocking into the bed. He grabbed the key, shoved on his shoes, and bolted for the door. Flinging it open, he ran into the night, gasping for breath, desperate to get as far away from the mirror as possible. He didn't stop running until he reached the front desk. The old woman was still there, watching him with those hollow eyes. "Did you look at the mirror?" she asked softly, already knowing the answer. Alex, still shaken, nodded. "What the hell is in there? What is that thing?" The woman sighed, leaning forward. "Room 6 has a history. Many years ago, a man stayed there. One of those lost souls you hear about. He became obsessed with the mirror, convinced there was something on the other side. He spent hours staring into it, muttering about things that no one else could see. One night, he simply disappeared. But the mirror, it remembers." Alex's heart pounded in his chest. "Disappeared? What do you mean?" "No one ever saw him leave, but guests in room 6 often say they see him, always in the mirror, watching them." She looked at him gravely. "Once you've seen him, he's seen you too, and he doesn't like to be forgotten." Alex felt a weight settle in his chest. "What do I do?" "Leave," the woman said simply. "But don't go back to that room." Without another word, Alex left the front desk and ran to his car, desperate to put as much distance as possible between himself and the cursed mirror. As he sped down the dark, empty road, his mind raced. He was free, wasn't he? His phone buzzed in the passenger seat, a notification lighting up the screen. Out of instinct, he glanced over. The screen was black, but faintly, very faintly, he saw it. His reflection, but it wasn't his face looking back at him. It was the figure. In a split second of terror, Alex jerked the wheel, sending the car skidding off the road. The crash was violent, the world spinning and shattering around him. But as everything went dark, there was only one thought in his mind. The mirror never lets you leave.